On this week's Prep Focus on Football, we'll look at the games, the players, and all of the activity in the high school football scene around the area. I'm sports reporter Steve Susi alongside senior reporter Tim Ahrens. Today we'll be taking a look at, first of all, one of the big Interstate 8 matchups of the season. Last year's Interstate Large champion Piatone against last year's Interstate Small Division champion Wilmington.
Boy, Wilmington, I think, probably spent the first part of this week counting their blessings. Their overtime win over Manteno last week was pretty amazing.
I would imagine the Manteno fans are probably going to be seeing Jeremy Bailey in their nightmares. All-state player did what all-state players do there in the waning seconds of the game.
I think every opponent of Wilmington is going to probably have some bad dreams about Mr. Bailey. He's a heck of a player. So,
heading forward to this week, how do you see this week's game?
I think Wilmington. They're ranked second in Class 3A. They were undefeated in regular season last year. I think they're just the better team.
Piatone had a nice opener last week, shutting out Reed Custer, doing some things on defense and getting a much better start than they had last year. But like Tim, I believe Wilmington's clearly the class of this contest, and that's also my selection. Moving on, Bradley Bourbonnais will break open their new turf for the football team, playing not necessarily a long-time rival. You have to go back almost 50 years to find the last time Bradley played Morris. But they used to play all the time, and both of the two teams opened with really impressive wins. Morris beat Oswego last week, and Bradley really handled Kankakee.
Bradley's a 7A school. Morris is, what, 4A, 5A school. Bradley's going to have too much for him. And one thing I find interesting is in the past, you know, everyone wants to see Bradley play Mac, and you know, Mac's a 4A school, so I see some parallels here with Morris. If I had to make my pick, I'd take the Boilermakers.
Morris contained Oswego's passing game to less than 50 yards last week, but obviously they didn't see anything like Bradley's spread offense that they're utilizing today, or on Friday night. So basically what it comes down to is that I think Bradley's probably got a little too many weapons for Morris. A pair of interesting Saturday games on the schedule this week. Kankakee looks to regroup from, suffice it to say, a really bad game for them last week against Bradley. They turned the ball over 6 times. Everything went wrong. They're playing Thornridge, who wasn't the best last year, but they do have one thing in their advantage. They have a Michigan State recruit by the name of Mikhail McCall, who should give an interesting matchup problem for Kankakee in the sense that they've got some talented players of their own that would like to see how they measure up against a Big Ten caliber player.
Coach Middlebrook insisted that Kankakee is going to be a running team. They're going to have to stop a running team this week. I think this presents a problem for Kankakee, but I think Kankakee has enough weapons to overcome it. It's going to be close. I'd say probably within a touchdown, but the K's will win.
Highly touted Calvin Phillips didn't have a great game last week, but this might be an opportunity for him to really show why people were excited about him transferring to Kankakee and showing why a lot of people consider him to be a Division I prospect. An interesting measuring stick game for Central this week. Obviously a blowout victory for them last week against Paris. Everything went their way. But now they'll travel almost 3 hours to the north, practically to the Wisconsin border, to play Oregon, a traditional power in 3A.
Coach Spooner wasn't looking past Paris, but he did circle this game on his calendar and saying this was probably their biggest game non-conference of the season. This is their measuring stick. Oregon is a Pac-10 power in college football, and they're a Class 3A power in Illinois football. So if I had to make my pick, I'm gonna go with Coach Spooner though, and his boys there at Central.
Central has historically not done real well with long road trips either. I agree with you. I do think Central will probably come out on top in this game. Wrapping things up for this week's games, Gordon Tech travels to Bishop McNamara, gives the Irish a pretty good opportunity to move to 2-0 in Catholic League play. The Rams probably are not up to the level of the Irish.
Mac's going to win this, and will it be a running clock? Yeah, probably toward the end of the third quarter. It'll be a 40-point game, and McNamara's backups will get plenty of action.
The first 4 weeks of the schedule are extremely fortuitous to the Irish this year, so it looks like the Irish will continue that role, in my opinion, move to 2-0 on the season. That wraps up the game action for this week. I'd like to take a minute to focus on one of the outstanding player performances of the past week. Momence's DeAndre Wright erupted in his first varsity football game, caught 5 passes for 257 yards with 3 touchdowns. In the process, he established a school record for Moments in receiving yards, and not only did he break the school record, he buried the school record, surpassing it by near 100 yards. So it'll be interesting to see what Mr. Wright is up to in Week 2 as the Redskins travel to Spring Valley Hall. Look out for more information about these games that we just talked about, as well as all of the other games around the area in today's edition of the Daily Journal in the Prep Focus section. And until next week, we'll see you on the field.